We're going to dive into a compassion meditation. We're going to have an actual experience in our body of what relational neuroscience is now proving is healing. And I will just very briefly put the dynamic on the table. We need two things. We need the triggered physiological response. So maybe that's a gut feeling. Maybe that's a tightness, a scratchiness in your throat. Maybe it's anxiety, it's a nervousness. But in any traumatic response, conditioned response, this manifestation of fight, flight, freeze, there will be some physiological response or trigger that comes up. And so what we need is to have the courage to allow, to embrace, to feel that triggered response, to allow ourselves to feel triggered, to feel sad, feel angry, feel afraid, whatever that is. And rather than jumping to that fight, flight, freeze as an action, we learn how to lift into another set of muscles that I don't believe are empowered enough on this planet, and that is the set of muscles that I call self-love, self-compassion, and self-courage. And so as we're aware that we have a physiological response going on, we can learn how to lift into love, lift into unconditional loving. We can just be aware that in these moments we are actually an incredible vibration of loving that is holding and hearing, listening. We are actually, another part of our consciousness is holding and loving ourselves as we have the courage to allow that physiological response to take place. And in doing so, we are rewiring those neural pathways out of, in that physiological response, retracting, small, stuck, self-sabotage, fight, flight, freeze. If we can lift and give ourselves that love, that compassion, that support, that sweetness, that understanding that we needed back then, right? But we can give it to ourselves now so that we rewire those neural pathways from a small, conditioned, contracted state back to love, back to our ability, our trust of like, love is who I am, and I'm going to keep putting my love out there, even if it's getting hit or not met the way that I need. I'm going to keep putting my loving heart out there. We're learning how to live more fully in our own unique healing frequency. So I do encourage us to all be aware that we have a healing frequency, and in some ways it's just a clever way of relating to the truth of who you are, that pure soul essence, that vibration, that loving, that invisible essence that you are at the core of all things. Interestingly enough, metaphysically, that healing frequency is also completely your creative frequency, and it is also your loving, your connection frequency. But in some way, it's just another way to relate to who you really are, that highest vibration, that soul, that love that you are. And in service to using this human experience as a springboard into living more fully as completely allowing that soul, that healing frequency that we are, I want to share just a couple of quotes that I absolutely love in the email that I sent out today for this particular meditation. These are the quotes that I had in this email, so I'm just going to quickly pull them up. I love Michael Singer. Any other Michael Singer fans out there? So, and I do believe that these quotes are perhaps even more relevant on the planet at this time. There's a lot of challenge, and it's easy to honor and acknowledge the challenge that's going on around the world, right? It's horrific. And what is really important is that we don't allow ourselves to get into a pattern of completely ignoring, disowning, and abandoning our own challenge, because comparatively, well, spiritually, metaphysically, there is never any good reason to compare. We're all here to walk our own unique journey, and we're all here to learn how to have more compassion for ourselves, more love for ourselves, so that we might fill up, really allow ourselves to be this soul, this healing frequency, manifest in this present moment in service to others. So you have to decide if you want to continue to walk around with stored pain, blocking your heart and limiting your life. The alternative is to let go when it gets stimulated. So this is what we'll be talking about today. When we're triggered, when that challenge, that upset is just so fully this present moment, we can either double down, contract, fight, flight, freeze, or we can let go. From Dr. Alan Harriet, if we allow ourselves into these feelings instead of resisting them, things begin to change. But therein lies the rub: how to get in and release them. And the easiest way I've found is simply through feeling. And I think a lot of us actually bypass our own healing because it sounds too simple. How can just feeling our pain, feeling our sadness, feeling our anger, how can that do anything? Isn't that recycling or contributing to the problem? Well, no. If we have this second beautiful focus of loving, listening, holding, healing our own human challenges, no, feeling actually becomes the easiest way to heal. And also from Michael Singer, if you want to grow and be free to explore life, you cannot spend your life avoiding the myriad things that might hurt your heart or mind. You must learn to transcend the tendency to avoid the pain. Do you actually think that if you resist, it'll go away? I would make a bet that every human being can relate to the tendency that we all have to avoid our pain. It's just human instinct. It's the human condition. And so we're asking for quite a level of courage and bravery here to really learn how to allow and even lean into the discomfort, the pain of our human. And so finally, and this really is mirroring the research that we have through relational neuroscience right now, and this is from Doctors Mary and Ron Hulnick. They were the professors for the Masters of Spiritual Psychology that I did, and huge love and hugs to Ron and Mary. Healing is the application of loving to the places that hurt. And so I'm just going to springboard in from that point. And I'm going to say that again. And I'm going to ask that we now all close our eyes as I lead us through a short 10-15 minute guided meditation for learning how to allow ourselves to relax and release, to let go so that we can feel and heal. So with our eyes closed in this moment, we do anchor this conscious, clear awareness, this clear intention of the highest good. We are creating a clear, loving, sacred container in this moment so that any of our human expression, any of our human experience is brought into the light of this present moment for the highest good in service to profound healing, clearing, and the transmuting of any negativity, karma, imbalance, disease, any old conditions, old stories, old habits, absolutely anything that comes present. We are setting a clear intention for healing, for clearing, for the highest good. And we are again anchoring this guiding light. Healing is the application of love to the places that hurt. And so we're just going to go through a series of opportunities to allow ourselves to find those moments of hurt. It might be our hurt, it might be someone else's hurt. Really, spiritually, it's all our hurt. We are one. As we lift more fully into who we are aware that we are all one. When another hurts, it is very easy to allow and access that experience within, in service, not just because we want to punish ourselves or feel fucking shitty. No, but in service to allowing that moment of human suffering to springboard us into superhuman compassion, unconditional loving. Compassion, love, the healing frequency that we need more of on this planet. And so, if you're ready, have the courage to be aware of a moment over the last few months in which you were hurting, you were uncomfortable, you were angry, you were sad, you were afraid. Whatever shows up right now, do your best to be aware of what was going on. Yep, it's okay. See it, visualize it, be aware of that. In service to feeling it. And when you can feel it, be aware of what's going on physiologically in your body. And it's okay to allow that energy, to allow that emotion, that physiological response in service to getting in touch with it and really letting go into it, feeling it, allowing it. It's okay to even exaggerate it in the body. The moment that came to my mind is an experience that almost starts to have my shoulders hunch over, feel small, less pathetic, weak. I just feel my body all of a sudden shrinking. So I'm going to have the courage to really just allow that to be exaggerated in my body. If my shoulders want to kind of cave in, allow that caving in. Just allow that physiological response. Say yes to it. Allow it. And you might also be aware in this moment that what also gets triggered is resistance to feeling, is an action in your mind of resisting, almost trying to talk yourself out of this. But just however you would, continue to let go of any part that resists. And just continue to allow, welcome, feel, embrace. Truly welcome the feeling. And so once that is triggered, is a physiological feeling in your body, we're going to learn how to now bridge metaphysically heaven and hell. We're here to allow the truth of who we are as a human and as a soul. We're here to bridge universes. So yes, allow your human to feel whatever it feels in this moment. That's okay. But to the extent that we do that completely, we cannot help but also be aware that there starts to be a rising, a lifting also in our consciousness. We start to be aware that there is a part of us that loves us, that has compassion for us, that in some way is vibrating. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. I'm so sorry that you are going through this. I hear you, I see you, I love you. Nothing more. No trying to talk you out of the experience, because our mind does want to talk ourselves out of the experience, but in some way that is actually just also a form of abandoning ourselves. This experience that actually is just really repressed emotion from much earlier in this life is finally ready to be picked up, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. Can you do that? Can you pick up this feeling and just say, I hear you, I see you, I love you? Can in some weird and wonderful way, can you pick up this feeling and hug it? Love you, love it. And so you might be aware that there are more words that go with that, but they're not words of fixing or trying to make anything different. They're not trying to change anything. They're a manifestation of complete acceptance and loving for everything just as it is. And our mind won't like that. That's okay. Our heart knows what to do. Our soul knows what to do. So just allow that loving. And sometimes for me, the only words I do need to use are, I hear you. I see you. I'm with you. And I love you. And I had that turning point, that alchemy happen inside my energy field just now, where it turns from a negative experience of sadness through to almost a bit of a giggle, a bit of a laugh, and it just lifted, it just cleared, it just transmuted. Inside where there was sadness, there is now space and lightness and freedom. And so it takes however long it takes, but the more that we do this, the more effective these muscles of self-compassion, of our healing frequency becomes. And so we're going to do this just one more time, but this time we're going to do this one for a feeling, an experience, a suffering outside of our own human experience. And this is all about allowing the emotion to break us open into the love that we are. So I'm also going to allow the emotion in this moment just to break me open as I call forward an experience in this world of human suffering. And we do our best to let go of where our head wants to go, but we just allow whatever pops into our heart, whatever pops into this present moment. Whatever experience of human suffering shows up, just allow ourselves to be one with it, to observe it, and not to force the emotion, but just to allow whatever emotion comes up. Depending on how your consciousness is lined up in this moment, there may be an experience of the oneness of who we are that allows us to in some way just feel for whatever human suffering we are present with. We allow ourselves to feel that. We allow that vulnerability. We allow that transparency. We allow it. And as we do, as we have that physiological response, that feeling in our body present, we learn to lift. We lift into that love and compassion that can be most easily manifested in, I'm with you, I hear you, I see you, I love you. We are learning profound skills of non-duality in this moment as we allow our human experience and at the same time allow that loving action of our soul, and we allow both to take place. So we get to experience why we're here on the planet. We're here to find our soulmate. And that soulmate isn't anyone outside of ourselves. This human, your human, is your soul's mate. You're here to find yourself, to find a full, real relationship with yourself. So yes, you are that love, you are that soul, you are that spiritual being that has been given to you so that you can love, have compassion, forgive, just truly fall in love with this human that you've been given. And the best way that we can do that is to really allow all of the ways that we might fight ourselves, flee from ourselves, avoid, numb, deny our human self, our fears, our feelings. And can we rather just love us, be with us, and in the process heal us, be clearing that human karma, be clearing those human conditions that we created early in life to feel safe, to create some sense of control. It's very challenging when we're little. We don't have a lot of control, so we create patterns where we feel a little more power, a little more control. But as we grow into the adult, we're aware that no, we don't want our human ego, our patterns of power and control to be in the driver's seat of our life. We're ready to let our soul unconditionally loving, our healing frequency into the driver's seat of our life. And so as we're aware that healing experience just dissolves and what we're left with is lightness, is love, is unconditional loving. And so together right now, I just ask that we do all radiate this love, this light to the whole world. Our mind doesn't know how to do that, but who we are as the divine does. Our heart does, our soul does. Just let this loving vibration, this healing frequency radiate out like a lighthouse to the whole planet. We do ask that our love, our light, our healing frequency be of service for the highest good of all concerned. Alrighty. That's it.